really, but they brought in 5 or 6 police officers into Lawrence Fox's house to find evidence of a crime he hasn't committed yet.
What? Yeah. Look how many coppers there are in my house. Look at them. I'm going to steal everything.
This is pretty crazy, because I was in a Zoom meeting. I didn't actually speak in it, but I was like just watching it basically, about Cop City, Stop Cop City, because they are lawfully going about trying to get local referendums in Atlanta in America, and they're already being lied to and cheated out of their democratic process. Basically, they're having all these legal cases and suits about the referendum, but you can't have legal cases. That's the whole point. It's actually intervening and trying to obstruct the process. The only legal challenges you can have for referendums and elections are to challenge the legitimacy of it if it was run properly, and you have that afterwards. There's a proper legal procedure for it. In America, they gave the lower courts powers to hold federal question hearings, which is just clarify rights. And then they took the power away from the lower courts, but then they gave it back to them again. And this is where they bring in, there's all these copyright claims against people who are running for elections, when they're using pictures and things like that, which you're not supposed to have all these cases. The Tumultuous Petitioning Act says that it was only the King's Bench assizes when you were petitioning the main government. None of the other courts could get involved. And all the misdemeanours which were involved were brought through that legal process. All the public disorders, any offences, right? And then in the 1688 bill, they put a stop to all the prosecutions through courts. So you couldn't even be prosecuted through King's Bench or assizes at all. And that is what it means. And the whole thing has now been perverted completely, including free speech and on platforms. So, and in Atlanta, this Chris Carr, this Attorney General, he's even trying to claim that the protesters are doing racketeering. You can't claim that it's a business, a political enterprise is business when it actually isn't. Racketeering is meant to be, the thing in England is the actual authorities who are doing racketeering. It's the actual police themselves when they're putting illegal road signage up, misleading people, getting fines when you can't do it. Organised crime, mass organised fraud of fines. The thing with the police is, I think that they know that they're in trouble and it's serious. And it's taken over 7 years to get to the stage where we're at now, where people are actually talking about it. Like on this Lawrence Fox now, people are actually now talking about it and entertaining the idea. Not only that, the fact of we're having all our rights taken away from platforms when freedom of the press is even in English law, freedom of use, required use, compulsory publishing in at least one major press or other papers, and directions given from Parliament on the petition website to an order and direction published by Parliament to share on platforms, but yet those platforms are denying the adverts for the political causes. So we've got, it's just literally straight out of the history books. When you read history and you read about the Sheriff of Nottingham or in the Civil War, all these constables and these corrupt officials, this is actually it now. It's happening. And, we've got all these television programmes, talk shows, people, being amicable, civilised, people carrying on with daily life, going to supermarkets, buying burgers, going to work. Yet, we've got this mass corruption and the actual denial. Same with Max Hill and the police chiefs. It's clearly set out in the Town and Country Planning Act, both of them, to identify an advert, what it is, and anything where you painting or putting it on anything, on any surfaces, is facilitated for in the act. And if there's any question to whether you can and can't do it, it is dealt with in that act and what even doing that is. It's actually got nothing to do with criminal damage, which is for breaks, smashing, bangs, dings. Once it's defined as an advertisement, advertising the cause, no matter how you put it on and what you do with it, it's through the act. And this is the director of prosecutions and the chief officers. They are just bringing what charges they want. I think they have turned into, well, they are bullies. They've got these powers, and we have actually got powers in law, in the Criminal Law Act. There was an ex-police officer on one of the TV programmes, it might have been GB News, and he was saying there are at least several acts which give the public powers of arrest, you know? And we actually have got powers, but we're being denied actually the use of them through YouTube. Certain advertisements, when you're asking for witnesses to come forward, even for the public to sign and support something, if you've had something stolen and you need to put a picture of it. So, you know, all of the Parliament aren't helping us out. The ministers aren't helping us out. We've even got leader of a political party here. Lawrence Fox is actually being treated like Roger Hallam was, actually. Because according to the law, to the actual fundamental rights, when Roger Hallam was, in meetings talking about things to do with political actions, it is protected and it isn't for the police and local courts to get involved. Even when he went out for a promo stunt, it is actually debatable whether or not he could have handed out the food for a publicity stunt from the supermarket or not. That is questionable, but he didn't even get arrested for that. It was just, I think it was for something that he said in a meeting. But they're having these problems in America as well, the American authorities. So, but they played a song. When I was in that Zoom meeting, I was just watching, and they were talking about, you know, people who've had experiences. There were lots of victims on there who have actually been victims of the police. They've been victims of the police coming around, you know, when, you know, they themselves haven't broke the law. And they played a song. They were sharing music or invoking, you know, getting people to things that, you know, remind them of, you know, these experiences. And then they were asking people, you know, what makes them feel safe? What are the things that makes them feel safe? Any, you know, sounds or, you know, pictures or paintings or even smells, things like that, what make you feel or think safety. One of the song that they played apparently was called When They Come. It's called When They Come, and it was kind of like a rap song. And it actually made me feel really, really uneasy. It made me feel like basically when the police came around here. And remember, I put paper stickers. Not only does the photocopy toner fade off after a few months, which, you know, it is well within the duration of the petition, it is paper which is biodegradable. It's on a metal surface. It is an advertisement. It's classed as an advertisement. There's a legal requirement to put it, and you can actually put it. It's facilitated for in the law. So, you know, there is no criminal damage charge or charge under the Highways Act for putting signs and notices at the side of highways. It says when you've got the authority, it gives you deemed and express consent in the law through the enactment, through the use of the enactment. So, you know, I've been prosecuted illegally. They came into my house and looked for all my stuff. They actually took my stickers, my little box of stickers, and it was only like a shoebox size box of stickers that I had left, right? And after you've been interviewed, you can apply, you know, to get anything seized. You can apply to get it back, and you go to the stores, police stores, to collect it, right? And when I went to collect my stickers, they'd vanished, they'd gone. So the police wanted them. The police had them. The police didn't want me to have those stickers back, and it was only a very, very small box. It actually wasn't the main stickers that I put on the speed cameras. It was actually only some little tiny bent cup.biz stickers. So the police, they didn't want me to have them. And if there's anywhere safe in the whole world, you would think it would be in a police station. So if my stickers can go missing from police stores, from evidence stores, who else? If the police say that they didn't take them, then where are they? How are your fingerprints safe? Is your photograph safe in police custody? Is anything you take? I think my brother had a jacket taken once and he never got that back, you know? So the police are actually stealing things. And, you know, there's meant to be a procedure to get it back. It took me a long time to get my police tapes, my CDs, all the interviews and recordings, which I have got. It took a very, very long time to get them. They didn't want to give them. And they really don't want to give over the video footage from the speed cameras. They really, really don't want to give that over when you've got a right to have a piece of the evidence. It took absolutely ages to get those. So they just don't want to. They are bullies. They've had these powers for far too long. And no matter what crimes are going on around the country, we actually do have powers to do policing and to actually defend and protect his rights and interests. I think that they are criminal. When you've got power, you end up abusing it. We see this on YouTube and Facebook all the time because people are given administration buttons to block people. So online, there shouldn't really be any harassment claims because of those block buttons. You know, you don't have to listen to someone again. You know, so why are the police going around to people's houses, you know, knocking on the door on some of these claims on the internet? You know, someone put this or put that. If, you know, the basis of that is that if you see one advert that you don't like and that it harasses you, then you should be able to prosecute the advertiser. But yet, YouTube give you these controls. So, you know, if you don't like what you're hearing, you can skip it or, you know, claim you don't want to see that advert again. But ultimately, a lot of times it does show it again. And now they are targeting people. They've got algorithms that are targeting people. So it is actually now companies that are making decisions and targeting people with certain material, right? So you have got this situation where it's not just random. It isn't actually just random advertisements. It's not random adverts. It is actually showing content that they are specifically intending to show specific people. So, you know, none of these advertisers are getting prosecuted. Google is not getting any charges for harassment, yet the actual way the devices function, the way the apps function now, is it messes people around. It's actually messing with your phone controls, then it's doing like options and buttons which keep changing and kind of like really, really distressing, upsetting. It is malware. Every single thing that they warned us about, malware, Trojanware, ransomware, it is a ransom when they... If an organisation have got really ridiculous terms and conditions, which, like, you know, on YouTube, they claim, well, they can't take away your First Amendment rights or your petition rights because you have to publish on there. And in fact, Parliament put a notice to say that you have to share on these platforms, right? So they're saying, they're manipulating you, holding you to ransom. Ransom, the word ransom is if you don't give me some money or do this or comply with that, you know, we're you know, going to do this or that or not let you do this or that. They're actually, they're getting you, they're coercing you to consent, submit and accept giving up certain liberties, rights and freedoms, which in law they can't, but they've claimed that they are. They've claimed that they are taking away your rights, or they claim they have. And the worst thing is, no MP is doing anything about it. And in the Bill of Rights, it is MPs, judges and councillors who were the ones that the bill is about. wrongdoing of those people subverting the rights and liberties of the realm. It is those people who are doing it. So, and those are the people now who are letting us down. I mean, we've got Robert F. Kennedy and Marianne Williamson, who seem to be the only people running for election who, they're the only people who seem to be saying that we even have got rights. No MPs seem to be doing anything to YouTube or Facebook at all. And it's actually meant to be Parliament who writes to them as meant to enforce our rights, but they're actually not. And remember, back then there wasn't a police force, so we are responsible for not only obeying the law but also using the law to uphold it. And we've actually, I think, the right to, like we had to, like the 1688 bill reinforces and reaffirms the right to petition in a case to the main government, right? Well, since 1688 and even since the 1700s with the First Amendment in America and freedom of the press, we've had the police force appear. And what I think's happened with the police force, they've kind of seized, apprehended, taken over all of the other legal actions, like the criminal actions, not just bringing cases to the government, but all the local cases, the crime, not civil cases, but all the criminal side of the law. And they've actually come to rule it, and they believe it's exclusive to them, but it's not. It isn't exclusive to them. And the thing is, they're a big gang. They can send people around. People are scared of them. Then they can fly. And a lot of people in America have actually said this in that group. I was actually amazed that some people have been through the same things as me. They fire police cars past your house and whap the sirens, and they fly helicopters over you. Added to that, divert traffic and have noise coming past all night. Also, the building site here, JCB, all this planning and on opposition to planning. People are supposed to be able to oppose planning. JCB and these contractors and the builder sector and the BlackRock Vanguard investors, those JCB sounds are so loud that it, even from over 200 metres away, it penetrates through the house, and it's not... They've got all these regulations for volume level, right? And it's supposed to comply with that, but it can't. And it's not just the volume level, it's specific sounds, specific tones and specific pitches that are actually quite damaging and harassing. It's like with the glass. It's not just when you break a glass with a sound, it's not the actual overall volume level. It's a specific frequency that breaks the glass, right? And that's the thing with those JCBs. They've got a really, it hits a very horrible pitch. And also with the McDonald's, that with McDonald's whistle. I mean, I don't hear the television in the other rooms in the house, but when that McDonald's whistle comes, it penetrates through the walls. So there's something in that. Further to the point that I've already claimed, I've actually sent a legal complaint into McDonald's because I believe that they copied that off me anyway, that whistle. So, that's a long story to go into, but I've got a case for that anyway. But, so there's a lot of sounds happening at the moment. The things in the car, the seatbelt, right? So the seatbelt makes a noise that you're not meant to like until you comply with it. Now, that is policing because, putting your seatbelt on is meant to be, finable. It's something the police will do. So that's your actual vehicle, your car itself. It's a machine, it's not even a human, and it's making you do something, or it's making a noise that you don't like. But what are the harassment? What are the harassment, has anyone ever filed a harassment case against a car company for that? Because if it upsets you, if it harasses you, I mean, even if you were, this is the thing, right? If you break... like those farmers who have had people break into the houses, right? Because we're not in America. In America, if people break into your house, you can shoot them. in England, you know, that I think that guy broke into a farmer's house and didn't he shoot him. That if you check the newspaper stories, you'll find the story, and someone broke into a house and they got shot. And actually, what happened is he didn't get it for self-defense. The criminal actually, the defender, the home defender, actually got prosecuted, right? So, you know, what they're saying is that, you know, even if you're sort of defending yourself, you know, you can be criminal or whatever, you know. So, you know, this is the thing though. How much can someone harass you? You know, if a machine is making a noise and someone's programmed it to do that, right? You know, if you find it harassing, the police are starting to prosecute people now. If something isn't illegal, and if something, you know, isn't, you know, regarded as a harassment with one person, but it happens to completely different people, but the same or similar thing said, but that person finds it harassment, people are being charged and prosecuted, right? So it all goes, they're starting to do it now on whether the person believes it's harassment, or even in the bus station. The worst thing of all of it is in the bus station when they get this announcement going, oh, if any, you know, they've got this really horrible tannoid thing which goes, you know, smoking is against the law, you know, drunk walking on the carriageways and all this, when we don't have jaywalking rules in England. These really authoritarian messages which actually make you feel unsafe. And then they introduce a new one, which actually I thought replaced it, but it plays as well in addition to it at different times. And it goes, if anyone makes you feel uncomfortable in this bus station, report it. So they're getting women to even say, oh, it's making me feel uncomfortable now, when you're just not comfortable. You know, you're not comfortable when your machine's making a harassing noise, even if it's getting you to comply with the law. It's like a farmer with a shotgun. So a farmer with a shotgun threatening him with a shotgun, you know, to comply with the law. Get out of my house, you know. But the person who's breaking the law actually prosecutes them. So if you're refusing to put your seatbelt on, right, but you might be breaking the law, why can't you file harassment against a car company? Oh, the car company's getting you to put your seatbelt on. Yeah, but it's harassment, you know. It's the same situation as the guy who breaks into the house, right? But he gets shot, you know. But he actually takes legal action against the guy who's defending his own house, because the guy who's defending his house is getting him to comply with the law, but he doesn't. But he ends up prosecuting the farmer. So why aren't people prosecuting the car company? You know, I say because it is a military-industrial complex that wants to get the machines to make us comply. And, you know, whenever they're doing it, these companies, no one can get action against them. What has happened to the sperm count and the microbiome? Why aren't there any prosecution cases against these companies? Yet these companies are taking governments to court to say, oh, you're affecting his future profits if you make this or that law. Yet why isn't the NHS taking all the companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, to court, saying that, you know, they've affected the future health of our people? It is all wrong. I think the police are on the wrong side, you know. I think the police are on the wrong side because they've actually taken over the law, and they think it's for them to police, yet it's actually for the people. It's meant to be by the people, for the people. And the fact they've got all the equipment and vehicles and so forth, and a lot of the time I think that there is another... There's another unit like 77th Brigade or 77th Battalion which is tipping the police off and somehow controlling and intervening through radio and through the computers and actually kind of directing the police. Unfortunately not in instances like that sycamore tree getting cut down Adrian's Wall until it's too late, you know. I think that, you know, they've taken over. Policing is something that we were meant to... It was meant to be by us and for us, and with a lot of participation. Now, there is these commanders and chiefs with certain agendas, strategic planning. It's almost like the Strategic Planning Council. You know, we're meant to vote and decide on what we want building in the area and what we don't want building and object to it. The only people putting things on the table are the people with the money now. And the council call it business as usual. Even the council call it business. This is business. So it's all corporate takeover. And a lot of the devices and a lot of the things they've been making, like the talking bus is antisocial. People don't talk to each other on the bus now. And it's like repetitive conditioning. Next stop, but you're going past the stops all the time, you know, with the shopping. And every time you go to buy something, you don't stop yourself from buying it when really you shouldn't be buying it. You just kind of like ignore your kind of inner conscience, your higher self. There's something on those talking buses which is like psychological conditioning to not listen to your kind of like better advice, you know, your own intuition. And it's also antisocial. Now, you know, if just speaking to someone and asking someone the time, someone can say, oh, you made me feel uncomfortable, that's antisocial. Socializing is talking to people. Socializing is being social. It is being with people and engaging with people. I mean, what people go to watch comedy, laughing, even crying and getting upset. Making fun of people isn't very nice, but sometimes, you know, people can have a laugh or whatever. It's got to a point where the government, there is definitely, now we've got a lot of social power for other ideas and other parties and other movements. The major parties and the companies and businesses don't want people to form coalitions and come together with any other ideologies and plans other than what they've bought up all the companies, now they've bought up the businesses, now they're the ones putting the plans on the table, they want their plans through. All the strategic planning in the councils goes in line with that. And our objections are meant to be worth quite a lot of weight, and they just ignore them. And then all the machines they're building to build things, the noises, you don't need to hear a reversing vehicle 200 metres away when you're inside a house. That's for sure at a pitch that is still hurting your ears. You don't, you know, all of sperm count that's dropped, don't you think that's got something to do with memory and the microbiome and the foods? People should know where they are when they're on the bus. And if they don't, you know, you should be encouraged to talk to people. People used to like talking to people. Now they're encouraging people that, you know, it's uncomfortable. Even if it's not illegal, just uncomfortable, you get a police officer over. So it's making people actually not want to engage. And those admin buttons on the internet, when they're just blocking and banning, no one's actually done anything to police that when they're misusing them and overusing them. And what's happened is all your rights have completely gone away. But then you've got let's get it this way, right? If you haven't actually done anything wrong and someone removes you from a group when you haven't actually broken any of the rules that they list or cite, and if you haven't broken any law, right? If you've been removed from a group and discriminated against, that's an offence, but no one's enforcing it. You know, the amount of times you report things to the police and they're not interested. One guy on one of the programmes on YouTube, I don't know how, but someone managed to get the police round to his house because of an online harassment or something that he'd posted in words. But they're not actually going round and doing anything about discrimination when you've been discriminated against and removed from a group, you know, because of your opinion. So that's really, really big issue, because what's happened is people have actually been breaking the law and discriminating, but not for necessarily race or sex, but for the other clauses under the Act, because there are multiple clauses. So, and if they can't actually respect the law, then you've got these kind of like people who are really, really, really over-policing it, and they're actually being discriminative and authoritarian. And we actually you end up not having any rights in these groups, really. Some groups are all right, but you get, some groups aren't. And it's happening in business as well now. I mean, on eBay, they've done something about it because you don't even have to have an account to buy something now. So you can get around these unjust blocks because you can just buy something anonymously or without having an account. But I've bought some things recently, and I bought something and I didn't do anything wrong, and then I'm just asking a question about the item and you get blocked. That is against trading standards and consumer rights, because you can't even speak to them to ask for service of your item, or if you want to return it, you can't speak to them. So you've actually, eBay, they're actually undermining the entire trading standards and consumer rights process. Now, B&Q, some of these big companies, when you go in person, are meant to have very, very good returns policies, but these are the companies that, charge you a fortune, and, Currys and, B&Q and places like that. But you can return things, they've got a good return policy. But online, it's completely different. I mean, if you just say, there's something wrong with this, or even ask a question, sometimes you're getting blocked and you can't even speak to them, for service of the item. So it is against trading standards and consumer rights. And that, in a way, ties into, because these big platforms are actually aiding and abetting some of the sellers to do that, and because on the big platforms they're actually helping the admin and people control us, even when they're discriminating against us, we're not getting anyone uphold that law for discrimination at all. How can the big platform owners respect your political rights? They're completely undermining trading standards and consumer rights, and they're undermining the discrimination law. Unless you're a woman and you've been harassed, and it's like in writing, if it's some really, really paragraph of foul language or something. But, when you've been removed from a group for a discriminative reason, when you actually didn't do anything wrong, that is against the law. But that's happening a lot more than the harassment, because really those harassment charges, like what the police have been, very rare when they go around to someone's house, if it's online. I had, someone gave my address away all over the internet, and the police, the police in our county put it over to the police in Stockport, and they never did anything about it. Yeah, that's putting his address around all over multiple times and sort of jeering and that, it is actually worse than, just one small sentence of harassment. So I don't really know what the police are playing at. They definitely are biased and operating in some sort of strategic planned manoeuvre. And I think that the chief police officers and the Met and everyone are doing it in line with Sunak. I mean, Sunak told the police apparently they've got to clean their act up, but what happened to that? So we are being undermined, we're being devalued, and all the time they're claiming it's for protecting us, like, protecting women from harassment or from feeling uncomfortable. But what's actually happening is they're actually taking away these laws and rights. It's actually overriding it and actually taking it away. But in the main news and in the newspapers and the like Jeremy Vine and Calendar, their main pitch is that, someone's been hurt here, or someone's been killed, or someone's suffered this. They've got all these people on the programmes, right? I suffered this, or I suffered that. We need to sort out society because, society's got, they care. It's all based on the fact that the police are there to protect us, to keep law and order. And then the TV programmes are like, this person's had something done wrong to them, or this woman's been sexually abused, or this person's been ripped off. All those stories are the virtues and morals of supposedly what we're meant to be doing. But what's actually happening is the opposite, because it's getting to a point now where they're kind of helping people if it's for the sake of authoritarianism. Basically, it's like the whips in Parliament. If you take up the whip and whip them, if you kind of like boss your groups, you will kind of be sort of venerated by the platforms, but that's what the platforms are doing then with the rights. That if no one's sticking up for being discriminated with groups, then who's going to stick up with you having your rights taken away, and who's going to stick up for you for your consumer rights? I mean, I must say eBay have got a good customer services, but to have that facility there, I mean, I think Elon Musk was taking away the block button. But, Twitter was a really good place to chat. There was a lot of political talk on Twitter, and it was just, I think Twitter was all right as it was. And now what's happened to it is it's totally killed it as a political platform. And you can't even message people on there. And the fact that, Musk was thinking about charging people, on platforms, the advertisers, the reason it's free is that the advertisers cover all the costs. So if the advertisers aren't covering all the costs and we've got to pay as well, then, I mean, who's paying for it, I mean, why run adverts on there? If they want us to pay to go on there, why not go ad-free, It's like YouTube. If we paid YouTube, if we paid to have a channel, then why would we have to listen to ads? It's like TuneCore. You pay for a TuneCore account and release your music, right? There are no adverts or anything on there. Although actually, I think they've started putting some adverts on now on some of those. I think they've got them on YouTube anyway, but there definitely really is something going on here. That there is a strategy to it. The thing with that Cop City thing in America, going back to that, is that they're trying to they're doing a referendum by they've done it lawfully. And they're really trying to stop them from doing it. And they're really, really trying to cheat. Because they don't actually want the people to decide about what facilities get made and what actually gets done. And that is what's happened here. The strategic planning wants to make all the decisions to do with the strategy. Well, who's planning the strategy? Well, it turns out the police go to a lot of council meetings and the police get barriers here. They want barriers there. They want security cameras. The police actually are contributing quite a lot to the strategic planning of everything, and they've got a big part in it, and that is the thing, so therefore with all the corporations and corporate entities who are wanting to build this and build that, I don't really think that we are having a say anymore. And to use local referendums it's not actually that hard to trigger them. You only need equal to 5% of the electorate. And I think that there should have been a hell of a lot more of those. But those local petition sites are set up in a way that makes it very difficult when it should be easy. Same as Parliament, the Petitions Committee in Parliament, the website. And I think that they've never wanted us to have local referendums. You can have a local referendum, it exists. And really that would be a lot. All these community groups and community action groups that are doing these petitions or trying to call out for, saving greenbelt land or protecting fields in their area, there should have been a lot more local referendums. But then you would be going above the council and above the strategic planning, and you would be thwarting this strategic planning departments a lot all around the country. And then these strategies they're doing, they won't be able to do them. So local referendums will be something that really, really put a stop to the strategic planning. And at the end of the day, whose country is it? Do you want your town how the local people want it, or how some strategic entity that is like nationwide and, all the things that are put on the table are by the companies that have, made the profits out of us? you know, and caused all the, you know, sperm count drop, you know, memory problems, attention problems, all that. So they really don't even want us to tap into, to even use the local referendum powers, and that's why they're having problems with it in Atlanta. Because and the police figure into it. I mean, they've done it here. The police have been in meetings and had barriers put up places, blocking people from going to nice places where they like to hang around, you know, in the night time, watching the stars and ancient sites, you know, things like that. Just make, you know, and a lot of the times they don't have any evidence. You know, they don't even give any evidence for why they've got these things. So it is we're being bossed. And they're using the law, rather than us using the law. We only really use the law in civil cases, and not many people have got money to get a lawyer, or have got, you know, not confident enough to go through it by themselves. And it's really hard to challenge when it comes to big, you know, organisations like YouTube, places like that. And most of them are based in America, you know. So I think that it is, you know, we are being, I think that this, you know, this Lawrence Fox example here, it just, I can't believe it's just happened like literally the next day from when, you know, that Zoom meeting, when they had that thing like that, played that song When They Come, and then they come on to Lawrence Fox's house. It's almost like kind of spooky in a way. So, you know, I think Lawrence Fox could probably do with having a group session with that group now, because I think he probably can share a similar experience. I wouldn't mind, but in my case, it was actually illegal for them. It's actually protected, and it was actually unlawful, and there is no offence, you know. Particularly, you know, but, you know, what can we say? It's not just police chiefs. It's, you know, like Max Hill, Director of Prosecutions, this Chris Carr guy in America. We're actually being completely... And you know, they're making a lot of these charges up. And I want to... Where are all the charges that we're bringing? You know, this is the thing with crime. The people are meant to be able to bring criminal cases, not just, you know, the police. This is the thing. We bring civil cases and we bring petition to government, but it's almost like, you know, the right to petition, we had the right to bring criminal cases as well. Now it's almost like you've got to ask permission, or you've got to ask the police if they'll do it, and if they won't do it, then, you know, you're screwed. I mean, and a lot of these private solicitors who will do prosecutions, I mean, it's going to cost you like £5,000 or something. I think we've had since, you know, the First Amendment, the 1700s, I think we've had our right to bring criminal cases taken away and stolen and hijacked by the police, because otherwise we would be bringing, you know, legal cases against YouTube, prosecutions, you know, prosecutions against these big companies who are, you know, being given us these food, and it's all been strategically planned, you know. We aren't using criminal charges against these big businesses, and not how the police want to do it, you know, how we want to do it.